one, the only Herr Thomas Holtman out of Germany. He's one of the few fellows across the pond doing some really interesting stuff, and we're going to bring him on. Tom, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So for those of you that, or for those of them that don't know who you are, who are you? What do you do? How do we get here?
Well, I think basically most people know me nowadays for my work with Blade. Okay, so but my background is traditional Chinese martial arts and also Japanese martial arts. Okay, so I would say what I bring to the table is a little bit different, like what other people do. Okay, and I assume that's the reason why I'm here today.
Well, I just like your glorious beard, but yeah, that too.
I mean, like the beard helps. Let's face it. Looking good always helps.
It pretty much makes you a wizard at whatever it is you do.
Exactly right.
So you talked about some of your background in traditional martial arts, as well as we know we have some backgrounds in modern martial arts. What does that pedigree entail?
Well, like first of all, as a kid, I started with judo. I think like all most people did that. We all start with judo somewhere somehow. Okay.
Judo's a great base.
It is. A lot of people bitch about judo. But like in the moment when you get hit, by the concrete, you stop bitching about it. So judo is great.
What year was that? Like, were you looking at the full Kodokan 67 on that, or
yeah.
what? More the modern stuff that we're seeing where you can't touch the legs.
Yeah, like the thing is, in Germany, like if you train judo in Germany, it's more like, children game style based. You know what I'm trying to say? It's not like a real martial art. So I just said to my mom, I want to fight. I want to do martial arts. And she was like, okay. You want to do judo? And I was like, oh, great, judo. I had no fucking clue what judo is,
That's
I was 7 years old, so I was going to this club, and I was training judo, and trained to my brown belt, but I was always missing the punching and the kicking part, you know what I mean? So I started to drift away from judo, and, I also trained some Aikido, trained some Filipino martial arts, a little bit of Thai boxing, but it all didn't make click, until, I started to train Chinese martial arts,
Okay, so why is it that the Chinese martial arts sucks? Like, why doesn't it work? It's really trendy right now, right? Like, there's that fella over in China who's not even that good of an MMA player,
right?
That's quite frankly beating the Jesus out of old men, and it's quite sad to watch.
Right, it is.
Me, I have a traditional martial arts background. I use it all the time, mixing it in with my wrestling and my throwing my puntados.
Yes. So, I mean, first of all, like, I wouldn't say at all that Chinese martial arts suck at all. Not at all. Never ever. Otherwise, what the fuck? I should still train it and teach it. It makes no fucking sense, right? Because nowadays you can train MMA, you can train Thai boxing. You have so many good martial arts out there, right? So why bother with Chinese martial arts if they suck, right? So it all depends, how they are taught. You know what I mean? Most of the people who train martial arts, Chinese traditional martial arts, have no real life sparring at all. You know what I mean? They just run around in these silky pajamas, doing the partner drills, doing the partner forms, looking good, looking flashy, which is all good. You feel good, you exercise, which is good for your body, but let's be honest, it got nothing to do with fighting at all, right?
You definitely see a lot of great choreography, and I can't tumble through the air and do the stuff that I see those Wushu players doing. Like, it looks great, just like a gymnastics floor routine looks great.
Right. But by the end of the day, it's just gymnastics, right? So it got nothing to do with fighting, So you have these people who live in this fantasy world, They don't train properly. They got no specific fighting training. They got no mental training at all, which is originally a big part in Chinese martial arts. I mean, do you really think that they, run around like a tiger or like a praying mantis or think they are a dragon? It makes no sense at all. There are reasons why they use this kind of pictures in the head, right? But, a lot of stuff got lost in translations and there are lots of people who got no clue at all what they were doing, right? But like they think they're the big sifu or shifu, however you want to call it, and they got a couple of students, and the student, envy his teacher, and he's following him. So the guy thinks he's pretty good, and then suddenly he faces a boxer or a Thai boxer or a regular street guy, and he gets it as whooped. That's a matter of fact, because they got no clue about fighting, But that's I mean, let's face it. If you can't drive a car, is it the fault of the car? No, it's the fault of the guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not traditional Chinese martial arts suck. People suck.
I think that's a fair statement. And if you're looking at a system and you don't even have any flow work or any tech sparring work or anything like that, you wind up with putting people in situations where the first time they have to do it is the first time they're doing it, which is hardly a recipe for success. Like if the first time I had to make chocolate chip cookies, I just kind of went to the cupboard and started trying to put stuff in a bowl, it would be a predictable result.
Right. Exactly. I mean, there's so many common misunderstandings inside the traditional Chinese martial arts. So many people think that, like training forms and partner drills is enough to fight. So this is what they are doing, I mean, please don't get me wrong. I got nothing against drilling. Okay, drilling is beautiful. It helps you to build certain attributes, which you certainly need in a fight. But if you never fight, and you just, do this drilling partner work, well, like it's just gymnastics. That's it, And, like one thing people always forget is, like back in the days, like you had this street performer. I don't know if you ever saw those old black and white pictures where you see these Chinese guys, using the saber or the chain whip, looking good, performing on the street, They were just performer, and they wanted people to give them money for their performance, right? But this is a big part also from the traditional Chinese martial arts. So you have this performing aspect and you have the fighting aspect, right? But in a lot of schools, the fighting aspect got kind of lost. So people think that tumbling through the air and using a tinfoil sword is like fighting, which is obviously not,
So you're saying that a lot of cases, the flashy forms and stuff like that you're seeing, a lot of that it was more about recruitment of students?
Yes, there was also one reason why they did that, because I mean, let's face it. If you have you see any boxer, beating the shit out of the other guy, you can appreciate that. I can appreciate that, but normal people, no, they can't, But if you see the guy tumbling through the air, looking like a dragon, and he's moving, and it's all flashy and glorious, and you're like, wow, I want to learn that, that's beautiful, So yeah, for sure, it helps to attract students, and like I said, they use it to earn money, basically standing on the street, performing, and begging for money. So if you look good, if you perform beautifully, graceful, all these beautiful movements, bro, you get money, right? So yeah.
It's a really interesting perspective. I've never actually heard that. And that actually makes a lot more sense, kind of gives a lot of clarity.
I mean, sorry, bro, but for example, do you know the chain whip as a weapon? You saw it. I think you saw me doing a clip with it, So the chain whip in itself, it's just a stupid weapon. It makes no sense at all. Why the fuck should I twirl a thing around me, like an idiot? I'm trying to say, don't get me wrong, if you get hit by it, bro, it will damage. It will, split the skull open like, butter. No problem at all. But does it look good? Yeah. if you put the cloth on it and you hear the sound, you know, this, the guy's moving, the guy's jumping, and you, wow, you know, that guy got some skills, right? That's beautiful. Now take the sword and just step the fucker. That's it. But, you know, no graceful movement, no nothing, you know. So I rather, you know, go to the guy who's flashy, right? Because I want to look good. I want to feel good, you know. It all depends what the student is looking for, right? And if the student is looking for flashy movement, you know, and, you know, this is what attracts a lot of people, you know, still nowadays, you know. People enter a martial arts gym because they maybe watch Karate Kid or whatever kind of movie, you know, and they think, you know, now learn this and that, you know. So they already got a perspective in their head, right? But very, very few of them want to learn how to fight. You know, let's face it. You know, you don't want to get hit in the face. People don't like that. You know that, and I know that. We got hit a couple of times, right? But it's not.
I've taken a few silver.
You know,
more than a few.
Yeah. So, but it's not like people usually don't enter a Chinese martial arts gym because they want to learn how to fight. No, definitely not. You know. So, I mean, if you see it from that aspect, you know, a lot of these street performing arts have survived, right? You see that in every gym, you know. So, but people have the tendency to forget that these techniques, which we can find in the traditional Chinese martial arts, they were used on the battlefield. They were used by bodyguards. They were used by the triads, okay? So basically, they were used by people killing other people. This is what it's all about, you know? And another thing, what most people, I don't know if they don't know it or if they want to deny it, but traditional Chinese martial arts are weapon-based. You know, that's a fact. Okay. So by the end of the day, you have a spear or you have a saber or you have a sword, whatever kind of weapon. Okay. And all the forms, all the techniques, what you're doing inside the forms, you know, help you to understand the weapon. And for sure, you can also apply them, you know, against punches and kicks, but that's a different story because, you know, they were not developed for this kind of fighting. You know, let's face it, okay? And I'm talking about traditional Chinese martial arts, nothing which came up in the 19th century, 18th. You know, I'm talking about Ming Dynasty. I'm talking about old Chinese traditional martial arts. You know, those guys were, you know, they were fucking killers, okay?
Well, to your point, the majority of people that are like if I'm going out and I know I'm gonna have to fight Billy Badass,
yeah,
I'm probably bringing a chunk or something with me, right?
right,
And
exactly,
that's kind of a universal human tendency. We tend to be tool using monkeys.
right, exactly. So how come that suddenly everybody thinks that in China people were such honored people that they never used, you know, like brass knuckles or whatever, you know, they were not fighting dirty. It was all about honor and all that. No, you know, those people have watched too many movies and read too many, you know, novels. You know, it's not about that. But at the end of the day, I take everything what I can to fucking kill you, right? You know, so people have to keep that in mind. And you know, one thing which is I think it's quite funny. For me it's funny, you know, if you see people trying to apply techniques against punches or kicks, for example, which were never ever meant to be used like that. Okay, just for example, I think you know this famous pose, you know, like tiger claw with one hand is going down and one hand is going to the throat, you know. I think you saw, everybody knows this picture, okay? So, and people really try to use that against a punch. So think
Have
about
fun.
it. Have fun, right? Because, you know, the boxer will fucking bomb your face, right? But now imagine, you know, we are in China, you know, back in the days. So you carry a weapon, right? And we have a discussion. And you try to draw your weapon. What's going to happen? I'm going to stop that, right? So I need one hand going down to stop the drawing of the weapon. And the other hand will go up, you know, to destroy the computer as fast, as brutal as I can. So
You're gonna
suddenly
grab
you
his
have
head
this,
like a bowling ball.
Right. So suddenly you have this different perspective of the same technique, right? But all that lost in translation, and I see people trying to use that in sparring, and it's just ridiculous, you know? It makes no sense at all, you know? I mean, perfect example. Let's take the front kick, right? The basic front push kick, okay? So tell me, if I got a fucking sword and you got a sword, or you got a saber, or whatever kind of weapon, okay, whatever you prefer, and I'm going to throw a push kick, what's going to happen? We
They're
both
probably going to get injured.
Right? Bad injury, right? But now let's see it like this, because I prefer the spear. You know, I love the spear. So I pierced you. Okay, I fucking impaled you, and my spear is literally 1 meter inside of you, went through. Okay, so now the next guy is coming, and I have this dead corpse hanging on my spear, and I want to get rid of it. So I use my leg, I push against this dead body with my leg, and I pull the spear out, right? So now watch the next time karate. If you see a kata or you look Chinese, again, when they perform a Taolu, and you will see that people are doing that, but they don't know why. And the fun part is, for sure, you can use it against an unarmed opponent. Lyoto Machida was doing it beautifully, right? Front kick, bam, knockout, beautiful. But would you ever do it on the battlefield? No. But would you do it when you have to free your weapon? Yes. So we got this, you know, a lot of things lost in translation type of situation here. Okay.
I found that that I am able to use my kicks fairly effectively when I'm doing FMA sparring, but it's usually when, like, if we're doing single stick or whichever, and that, like, yeah, I'm definitely not using it as a primary, but if our weapons are met or there's some type of passive control on it, going through, and definitely that front kick, inside of the knee, up to about bladder to hinge them. I've found, I mean, I'm 6'3", so I don't know, that's about 192 centimeters. So I can rifle that out at someone's hips and have it back down on the ground in, I don't know, half a second reasonably.
For sure you can. For sure.
And so I found as a primary in weapons-based sparring, 100% I wouldn't do it, but I found that definitely once our swords touch or our sticks touch or something like that, that there's plenty of cool opportunity for it.
Yeah, for sure. But now you're talking about that the weapons are touching, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So would you also do it if we would spar with bolos?
With machete, so again, if we're going through and that there's that stall, right, where the weapon is touched.
Exactly.
Right. Like, so in that instance, yeah. But I'm gonna fire fast and it's coming back down to the ground out of the way real quick.
Right. But you see that, you know, it changes a little bit the perspective once you change the weapon, right? Because, you know, at the Dog Brothers gatherings, I see my brothers do a lot of things. I definitely know they wouldn't do it if a sharp weapon would be involved, right? You know, so yeah, you can do that, definitely. You know, but that doesn't mean that this is, you know, the reason why people used it back in the days on the battlefield.
It's true.
Because keep in mind that Chinese, you know, regular Chinese spear nowadays, they're so small, like 2 meters. We're talking about spears like 3-4 meters, you know.
Well, it's a different kettle of fish, right?
Yeah, you know, so things start to change, you know, and all I'm saying is that we have a lot of techniques where people don't know how they're actually were used back in the days. I don't know if they don't know or they don't want to show the students. I got no idea. Okay, but I see that quite often inside the traditional martial arts. People standing there trying to use something which was meant completely the different scenario, you know.
Do you think that there's a bit of whitewashing that's happened within the traditional Chinese martial arts because of I mean, for lack of a better word, ethnocentrism or racism, and not necessarily wanting to share the real stuff with the Guaylo or Mugwai, whichever dialect?
Nah, I wouldn't say so.
No.
I would even go so far that a lot of those called masters got no clue what they are doing.
Okay.
Nah, it got nothing to do with my big nose or that I'm white, not at all. I don't think so. No.
Like I can definitely see in the position of Japanese martial arts being spread
Yes.
to the West.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where the only way that the Japanese were allowed to continue to practice was by sharing their arts with the occupying gaijin.
Yeah, I see.
And
Yeah.
so, am I going to go through and give you the real McCoy? I'm
Yeah.
getting a semblance of it, but there's likely to be a tendency where we're going to preserve some of it as
Yeah.
closed door material.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, it also makes sense. I mean, like if you bombed my country down, I might not give you, the real value of my martial art, definitely, But, like nowadays, I think, like too many years have passed, too much knowledge is lost. You know what I'm trying to say? Like maybe the teacher of your teacher, he knew somebody who still fought like that, but he got lost somewhere, But still, you have some traditional schools out there, and still you have a lot of people who are very interested in traditional Chinese martial arts and in the development of these techniques and how they can be applied also nowadays inside the mixed martial arts scenario, So there's still hope out there, you know what I'm saying? There's still hope.
Yeah, it's interesting when we look at something like martial arts or a language.
Yeah.
I worked up above the 57th parallel for a number of years, and there was a local group up there called the Dene, and the Dene language it's kind of written now, but the language was starting to kind of die. And when you only have a few thousand people that can speak a language fluently,
Yeah.
once that's gone, it's gone. So
Right.
when we go through and we look at things like some of the HEMA scrolls and
Yeah.
the different martial arts where
Yeah.
pancration, where people are like, oh yeah, we're bringing this back. Well, you might figure out a few techniques, but as far as how that goes
Right.
together, right? Like you can know what an engine is and know what a camshaft is, but it doesn't mean you're gonna produce an Audi. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100% agree with that one. Definitely.
Mhm.
So that's the kind of problem we face nowadays. Like that less people are speaking this language. And maybe you're right that also less people are willing to share. You know what I'm trying to say? So I mean, I got lucky. I know some other people who got lucky. But before I got lucky, I was also training like 10 years Chinese martial arts, and I thought I was training Chinese martial arts, and by the end of the day, I was just like, doing some good workout. You know what I'm trying to say? So
It was a hell of a dance recital.
yeah,
Um,
so
Earlier you had mentioned the triads.
yeah.
So we're talking Choi Le Foot, Baxing Choi Le Foot.
No, I'm talking generally about the Sanhe about those, it all started with the Boxer Rebellion, and they're like what I'm trying to say is that traditional Chinese martial arts were the language, if we stay with this example, were the language which was spoken by, the bandits, by
Mm-hmm.
the good guys, by the soldiers, so they all were using the same material. So it must have been effective. Because like you and I know, the best way to learn how to hurt a person is from a bad guy, right? I mean, let's face it,
Someone that's done it, definitely.
that's the case, right? So but they all used it. They all used the same techniques. They all use it, so it's not like, like they had some advantage or no. So yeah, there are some styles which are more connected to the triads for sure, but it's not about just the triads. My point is just these techniques were used by all kinds of people, and they used it to defend, the country, their lives, and also to take lives. So there must be some value in it. Why waste your time? It makes no sense. Especially in the old
The
days.
story of the Boxer Rebellion is fascinating, where they basically took on the British with ball bearings, and and effectively, right? Like you get hit with a
Yeah,
1-inch ball bearing, it's like wow, right?
yeah,
Like I mean,
yeah,
they had stones for sure. It's
yeah.
quite impressive. So what style of Chinese martial arts do you hang your hat on?
Okay, so I mean,
And what makes it so damn special
you know,
besides that
I
you
would
do it?
uh, I wouldn't say that anything what I do is special. Not at all. Because like for me it's normal. But I started with seven-star praying mantis in 1989. Okay,
So it's been
and
a minute.
yeah, and when I was living in Shanghai, I was studying Chinese language and Chinese history and philosophy. And while studying in Shanghai, I was also training in Xingyiquan and Baguazhang. Um, but then in around 1999, yeah, I met my shifu, and he also teaches seven-star praying mantis, but from a different region in China. We call what I did before. It's also called the Hong Kong style because it's based in Hong Kong. And what I'm training right now and teaching right now, it's based in Yantai. You know, so it's the same but much different. Okay, and let's put it like that. My teacher basically whooped my ass. That's it. And I could try to take him down. I could try to punch him. And he was very, very open-minded, very open-minded. And he didn't. Some people don't like it because they think it's a challenge. And he knew that I was just looking for knowledge. I was just eager to learn. You know, and he always had a very efficient answer. Okay, and so I found out pretty fast that the 10 years before training Chinese martial arts was good as basics, as getting the fundamentals down, But basically, I was starting again when I met him, So I wouldn't say that it's special, but he knows how to fight. That's it, and he knows how to apply the principles and theories and all that, So I mean, basically, mantis, we use long and short range striking, we have clinching, we have takedowns, we have throws, you know, and what makes it for me kind of unique is maybe the clinch work because it's a little bit Thai boxish, if you know what I'm trying to say. We use
Mm-hmm.
elbows, we use knees, we use headbutts, we throw from there, we have foot traps, so it's for me, I think, very efficient. And what a lot of Westerners also like, you also find some kind of, similarities to Western boxing, a little bit of ducking, a little bit of weaving. The footwork is a little bit similar sometimes, so it's a very agile style and with a lot of different things to offer, So if you like, for example, kicking, you will find your kicks. If you like clinching, you will find the clinching, So for everybody, there's something to offer,
Is there so you'd mentioned that within 7-star that there's a Hong Kong style,
Yeah.
and then there's the it's a more northern style that you're familiar with now?
No, the Hong Kong style is also northern, but one of the guys from Yantai traveled some time ago to Hong Kong to work there for the Jingbu school, and this is how it all started in Hong Kong, But if one student goes away and he starts to develop his own stuff and maybe modifies this, modified that, so their names are the same, forms are the same, but done in a different way, So, but both are basically northern styles, okay.
So how are they different in the ways of application, right? Like if you had two boxers that were both similarly skilled, similar number of years in, and they were gonna whether let's like they're fighting, they're tech sparring, they're whatever, they're mixing it up. What are you going to see as differences between the two players?
You mean if we see the Hong Kong player and the Yantai player?
Yeah, like so one
Yeah,
like what
yeah,
would you
yeah,
expect to see more from the Hong Kong versus the Yantai?
yeah. Well, I would say that the whole generating of power is different in the Yantai region. Okay, they use a lot of core power, and it's very very rough. When they hit you, you know that you got hit. You know what I'm trying to say? It's not.
So are we looking at core power in that they are opening and closing? There's a hinging motion that happens, almost like a bow.
Not directly. It's
Okay.
more like this twisting power which you see a lot of times when people throw punch, but they have a very unique way how they do it, and they have different kind of energy. It's called in Chinese, so they have the energy of the hips and the energy how they seize and squeeze, and the energy how they use, like for different locks, the force vectors, so it's for me personally, it got the same name, they got the same forms, but it's completely different, bro. If you have to feel it, you know like one of my mentors always like to say, feeling is believing. Okay, so in the moment my shifu touched me, I knew I was screwed. Fact. He could submit me, with one hand, and I was faster going down to split before I could tap, because he doesn't make any jokes. He will fucking break your arm. So it's complete different, complete. But don't get me wrong, by the end of the day, you will for sure maybe also have some very good fighters in Hong Kong. Don't get me wrong. But for me, it no, it wasn't meant to be. Some people like BMW, some people like a Porsche, some people like a Mercedes. As long as you're happy, as long as you can drive down the road and you're safe, everything is cool. So for me, Yantai, Tang Chuan, 7-star praying mantis give me that feeling. I'm pretty safe. I'm feeling good.
So you'd mentioned that you had done some Bagua or Pakwa
Yeah,
and
yeah,
some Sing.
yeah, Xingyi, yeah.
Okay, and so how is it that those styles differ from Mantis?
That's a good question.
Like
Um,
we're definitely looking some internal versus external, right?
this is how people like to put it. People like to put it like that. But the question is, was it 100 years ago like that? 200 years ago? I don't think so. Because, whereas, if you find internal, you will also find external. If you find external, you will also find internal. It's impossible to have one without the other. But nowadays, people like to categorize things, right? So they say Tai Chi Chuan, Baguazhang, Xingyi, all those, I call them now soft internal styles.
So you get
I,
hit by one. There's nothing soft about it.
bro,
Your Yang style Tai Chi sucks, bro. Oh yeah, let me hit you. Oh, pretty good, pretty good.
I can just tell you, my own experience. You know what I mean? I fought Tai Chi guys in China, and I I I I got hit pretty hard. You know, I fought Xingyi guys in China, and I got hit pretty hard. I fought Baguazhang guys in China, bro. I got hit pretty hard. My Baji Chuan teacher, but I just studied Baji Chuan a short period, so I would never say I really studied. But he, cracked my rib with just one easy move. And we're talking about fighting, not this pity petty sparring kind of thing. So I met those people who can hit really, really hard, and to I wouldn't say there's internal and external. My Shrufu will always say, it's not like that. There's always two sides of the coin, and there are always, two sides are always involved, which makes the martial art complete, if you know what I'm trying to say.
You know
But
exactly what you're trying to say.
but like nowadays, I mean, let's face it, bro. If you go to any park in China and you see this beautiful Tai Chi guy doing a movement, okay, and he's doing his slow movement, and you ask him, what are you doing? He will reply, I got no idea. So that's the point where I say, yeah, you suck. You know, how the fuck can you think that you can fight? You're not doing a martial art. Okay, face it. You're doing gymnastics, and that's beautiful because you exercise your body. Yeah, I wish you a long and healthy life, right?
Tons of health benefits to Qigong. Really cool. Tons of health benefits to yoga. Doesn't necessarily
Right,
mean make you a better fighter, for sure.
right, right. Exactly. You know, so I
Um,
would, yeah. Sorry.
drawing on things like Bagua and looking at your thingy and
Yeah.
stuff like that. How much? Oh, for those of you that don't know, Tom does have a traditional martial arts background, but he can also bang. You can go and look him up on YouTube and find some of his Dog Brothers fights of him actually fighting people with spear that are trying to hurt him. Like
Yeah.
so, he's far from a dandy in that regard. So when you're mixing it up with people, how often do you find that you use some of the concepts from Bagua and Bagua, Pakwa, whichever
Yeah.
dialect, the
Yeah.
Singi,
Yeah.
the Tai Chi of like going through and using root and uprooting people and stuff like that? I find I use it quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like for me, it all melts down to one big bowl of soup. If you know what I'm trying to say, just different ingredients.
Hmm.
I'm not separating anymore. I don't care if if you say it's Bagua, bro, it's cool. I mean, it's Bagua. I couldn't care less. You know, I fucking hate you. You know, so it's everything comes together and everything makes sense. You know, everything flows together. I know it sounds a little bit weird, you know, but it all clicks together like in a video game, you know, like in a puzzle. You know, it all fits. You know, and the basics. You know, a punch is a punch, right? A kick is a kick. I don't care if it's the crane which is flying from the outside, the dragon comes down the mountain, or however you want to call it. It comes from the fucking outside, right?
Hmm.
So once you know how to use it, and once you know how to use, you know, some core strength with it, some force with it, you will knock the fucker out. Fact. You know? But maybe you call it a cross. Maybe another guy calls it the tiger walks the mountain. Who cares? You're all down on the floor, right? So it's all good. So I don't separate, and I don't think about, you know, okay, now I use, you know, my Xing walking, and now I use my Tanglang, you know, squeeze. No. I don't think like that. I just simply thought, you know, it's fun. You know?
Well, that's if it's not fun, we'd stop doing it a long time ago, right?
Right. Definitely. Definitely. Too long
What
involved.
concepts of Chinese martial arts do you find have carried over the best into some of your dog brother fights and stuff like that, where you really, where based on your background,
Mm,
there's a certain level of technology
mm,
that exists that someone maybe hasn't been exposed to, where you're able to make that work, um,
mm,
and it gives you a lot of opportunity. Like
mm,
whether it's certain angles or certain types of footwork. What do you think that biggest carryover has been for you?
mm. I mean, first of all, you know, the reason why I started to fight at the Dog Brothers gathering was simply to prove that Chinese martial arts got something to offer, right? Because, you know, um, there's one old, really old video out there where one guy with a three-sectional staff is fighting with the Dog Brothers, okay? And that guy was so bad, so bad. He had no clue how to use that weapon, you know. And you know, like Top Dog and Crafty Dog and other old school Dog Brother guys, they were like, yeah, the three-sectional staff is a nice exhibition weapon, you know, good for show but no good for fighting. And that nagged on me really bad. And I was like, bro, no, it's not like that. You know, so I simply contacted, you know, Lonely Dog, you know, the guy who runs Dog Brothers in Europe, and I asked him, you know, is it possible to fight? And he was like, yeah, gatherings are open for everybody. You know, so I simply went there with my three-sectional staff and started to fight. And a couple of years later, you see other Dog Brothers picking up the three-sectional staff and fight with the three-sectional staff. So I think I did something right, if you know what I'm trying to say. You know, people see the value in that weapon, you know, which is a huge compliment for me, you know. I mean, I don't want to boost my ego. Don't get me wrong, bro. You know, but it's like, you know, if people talk down on an art or on a weapon, whatever, you know, and you bring it to the table and you show the people, no, it got value. I mean, I still get my ass kicked sometimes. Who not? You know, but I can dish out with it pretty hard. You saw the clips, you know. So, and what I found out is that we have a lot of in common, you know, Filipino martial arts and Chinese martial arts. I mean, for sure we have. Don't get me wrong, you know. So it's always interesting if I fight, you know, those guys, because I always learn more about my own techniques, about my own style, you know. But that was my main purpose, you know. So I couldn't, you know, tell, you know, okay, if I use the quarter step or whatever, you know, that makes a big difference. Nah, you know, because, you know, it's you know how it is. It's fighting, you know. I just prepare myself. I go there, and I never know before who I'm going to fight. Right? It's a gathering. I'm going to fight everybody who wants to fight, and I don't even know which weapon the guy will choose. You know, a long pole, you know, staff, spear, single stick, double stick, you know, my sock, tonfa. I got no idea. You know, so I just bring my own style, if I can call it like this, to the table and see how it works, you know. And I learned at these gatherings much more than in the 10 years of you know, just standing there and practicing horse stance and doing all these partner drills, you know, because those guys hit hard and they are trying to rip your head off, you know. So you better bring it, you know.
I saw a video, or sorry, a picture on, I think it was Foxhound's Instagram page.
Yeah,
His
yeah,
dog brother. He likes to do stuff with Tomahawk, and it's him and Omega Dog. Or sorry,
yeah,
it's a picture of Omega Dog with a shield
yeah,
and a morning star. And I was just
yeah,
like, sweet baby Jesus.
yeah, yeah. That's
And
what I'm saying. You know, my
I
brothers are completely
if you
crazy.
can send me the clip for that, I'm looking for it, trying to find it, him using it. But oh God. All right,
You
like
should you should check with Foxhound. Maybe he got it. You know.
yeah, I'll reach out to him. For any of you that want to follow Foxhound, we'll post a link to
Oh, you
his
guys should
Instagram on
follow
feed.
him. You know, such a great guy, awesome fighter. You know, he really hits hard.
Well,
Okay.
he lives that life, right? Like you can
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
he lives in a place where he can work enough to get by and just focus on his training,
yeah,
and like
yeah,
God bless those guys, because that's
yeah,
actually how you see the arts advance.
yeah, yeah. Definitely, definitely.
Um, You'd you'd said that you had a little bit of notoriety for the bladed arts. Can we let's talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah.
So how did your exposure to that start with Mantis or any of the traditional arts, or
Yes.
was it that
Yes.
we became interested?
Yes. I mean, you know, like you know, we have different weapon forms in the Chinese martial arts. And the first weapon form I learned were the, you know, ring daggers, double daggers form, you know. And I was like, man, you know, I like that, you know. I really like the daggers, you know. So I started to dig deeper into it, you know, a little bit of Japanese Tantojutsu, a little bit of the Filipino style, you know, how they use it, you know, looking for the Italians and all that, you know. So I simply like the simplicity and the deadliness of the blade. Let's put it like that, you know,
Of
because I think,
of the small blade we're talking?
yeah, we would. I mean, you know, like in general, I don't care if it's a sword or a saber. You know, I like them all. But you know, like for example, I live in Germany, right? And people are not allowed to carry here, right? We have no guns on the street whatsoever, except for the bad guys, right? So, as a law-abiding citizen, you know, you are allowed to carry a knife. Okay, so my wife is allowed to carry a blade. I mean, certain length, etc., but still, it's a blade, right? So, as far as I see it, if you can't have a gun, the knife is the greatest equalizer for a woman, and the knife is the greatest equalizer when things turned wrong pretty fast, and it's you or the others, you know. So I think a knife And it's a great tool, you know. So everybody should know how to use it. You know, it's one of the first tools, right? First the stake, and then we had some sharp objects, you know. So yeah, I like blades and I like knives. Let's put it like this.
Sure. So with the anyone that's looking to find Tom, you can find him on Instagram at Bladecraft Method. Post a link in the description. If you're not following him, follow him. You'll get a better idea for some of the more esoteric stuff as well as the practical stuff that he's doing. We're talking about here. Well, it's just right. Like it's the
Right.
it's the guys that are. There's another guy, David Carr out of England. He's doing stuff more of the Japanese flavor, and I mean it's the guys that are doing a little bit weird. That's where you're gonna find some new stuff. You might not like all of it. There's going to be some turds and there's going to be some real gems. But if you're looking at guys who are just doing the same thing as everyone else, all you'll get is the same thing as everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was like, you know, like when I started to put it all together to call it Bladecraft method, you know, the core is definitely traditional Chinese martial arts. Okay.
In what way?
In the way that I always break the structure. You know, like you're a fighter, I'm a fighter. So the first thing, if we lose balance, we do what? We try to gain balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't punch, you don't block. You try to gain balance.
Usually drop your weight to try to reestablish, yeah.
Right. And everything what's in your head in that moment is, I don't want to slip. I don't want to fall on the floor, right? So we have this split second. This split second where your thoughts are not on your opponent, right? Because they are just on your feet. You don't want to fall. So I create this moment in your head. And when you don't think about it, I will fucking stab you. Let's put it like this. So my whole concept is that I'm going to break the structure. I try to take your balance away and use different ways how I can stab you. Let's put it like this, you know. And I see there are a lot of beautiful knife arts out there, you know, beautiful people, you know, and they do a phenomenal job, you know. But I think a lot of people are just too much focused on one aspect. You know, you have the dark side, the assassination side, you have the duel side. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
But I have three main pillars in my method. Okay, so I have let's call it the striking first part. You know, preemptive striking. If I know things are going to be getting much worse, it's better I start, right? So I'm not going to wait for the other guy to draw his weapon. Then I have the criminal aspect, which I teach a lot to, you know, like law enforcement officers, etc. Because you have to know how the criminal thinks. You have to know how he conceals the blade. You have to know how he uses the blade, right? And I also teach the dual aspect. And please don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about, you know, like we meet at sunset and, you know, we have a set of rules and, you know, first blood draw, blah, blah, blah. No. What I'm talking about is, like, we all know what's happening nowadays all over the world. So if you have a person who, out of whatsoever reason, starts to stab people around you, and you are present, and your family is present, and you want to protect your family, you want to protect maybe the others, you know, and you have a knife on you, what do we got? We got a fucking duel, right?
Well, it's a failed ambush, right? Every failed
exactly
ambush is a duel.
Exactly, sir. This is what I'm always saying, and people are like, "Oh no, there's no failed ambush." Yeah, there is a failed ambush. Just watch CCTV. There are a lot of failed ambush. It's not so easy. Like people always, you know, teach others it's so easy. No, it's not so easy. You know, so we have a lot of failed ambushes. So if the guy, you know, is going to fight back, we have a duel. So I have these three main pillars inside my method, you know, but I don't teach every time new techniques. You know what I'm trying to say? I teach it as a concept. I teach it as a method. So what is applicable to, you know, this setting is also applicable for that setting. So I like to keep it simple because, like, most people who never fought, they like to use thousands of techniques, right? We don't. We like to keep it simple because we know that simplicity, is a good thing, So I'm not a DVD seller, I'm more interested that the guys I teach gain skills. I want them to get as fast, as good as it's possible. Okay, I'm not making money with it. You know what I'm trying to say? There are other people who make money with it, which is beautiful. It's a business for them, so they have to sell, right? I don't have to sell. I have a beautiful job. I have a beautiful house. Yeah, we got cars, we got everything, So I don't, money is not important. I want to help people to survive. I want to help people to get better, and I want to help people to gain skills really fast. This is what I'm all about. Okay, and this is where, like besides the fact that I use different concepts, I differ from the other people on the market, definitely. Because I don't care, Maybe people care about me. I couldn't care less, what other people are doing,
Well, winners focus on winning, right? Losers
Exactly.
focus on winners.
That's a fact.
It's funny you talk about 1,000 techniques and all that.
Yeah.
In another life, I worked with a guy, and he had one trick.
Okay.
His right hand was like the hammer of Thor.
Nice.
And so I watched him getting like tangled with guys with knives. I watched him tangle with all kinds of guys. And
cool.
Right, and he was all he had was setting up that right hand.
Cool.
But he had one trick. But here's the thing. It was a hell of a trick, and nobody could stop it. So even if you knew that that's what this guy was going to do, all he had to do was land that.
Yeah.
And he was, in a former life, he was a hockey player.
Wow.
He's
cool.
So he's about the same height as me, little broader, a little thicker.
Yeah.
But when he was coming over, he had that angle. It was a loose shot. And when he would hit people, right? Like people think, oh yeah, that guy got knocked out. If a guy gets hit, stumbles and falls down, he wasn't knocked out. When this guy would hit people, you would be worried about the guy that he hit. You'd be worried about his legs and like whether he tore an ACL, because he would just pile. His legs would just be gone. The guy would just pile up.
Yeah,
and it was he had one trick, but it was a hell of a trick.
Yeah.
Like one hell of a trick.
Yes.
And I watched the guy pull a knife on him. He's like, whoa, right? And then just the guy poked at him. He's kind of moved to the way, moved back, and bang.
Yeah, bam. Yeah. But you see, he got so much confidence in this one technique because he used it so many times, and he that's the meaning of perfection, right? He was perfect.
It was a thing of beauty.
Yes. I wish I could have saw it, man. It sounds awesome.
I wish I had that jam in my right hand. I just don't.
Right.
I've spent not as long training as you, but like it's been a minute, and I don't hit people like that.
But so I would like to approach this person and just please teach me that. You know what I'm trying to say? Teach me that. I was always this kind of guy. Like a lot of people have this. Oh, I'm a teacher. Bro, I love to be a white belt. I love to learn, and stories like this, bro, I get goosebumps, I want to meet him, please teach me that, that's awesome, and you see people like that are out there, so, go and find them, this is all what I can, advise people to do,
Coming across and meeting fellows like that is just unreal.
Yeah.
For me, I have the good fortune of living a little bit of a gypsy life, and I get to go all around and tangle with different people and different killers and stuff like that. Go down to San Diego and walk into a gym, and I'll roll with everyone. And I said, I've taken more silvers than anyone you know. But it means that I've fought plenty of people that are at that level, right? I've got a chance to work with the Martinez brothers, Boogie
Awesome.
and Freakazoid at a 10th Planet. Um,
Awesome.
Unreal, right? Anyone's looking to see someone make 10th Planet work, go check out Gio Martinez's gym. Every single one of those guys will take your lunch money. Every
Yeah.
single one,
Yeah.
right? Like I walked in there, I was going to roll against some. They're like, okay, yeah, you'll roll against Ben. I was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, okay, guys, like 140 pounds, right? Average height. I was like, okay, man, it was like a 5-6 minute round. He got me like 4 times, and I was like, like I'm not terrible, right? Like I'm not bad. And then after it's like, wow. And then they're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I don't feel bad. He went to the second round for ADCC trials for going to Abu Dhabi. Like, okay, well that guy should have done that then, right?
Yeah. Right.
Um,
Right.
but it's for me, I've had plenty of people want to hand me a belt, and
Yeah.
I'm like, no, right? Like I go and I went and I worked out with Eduardo Tellis, rolled
Mm.
with him, and after he's like, yeah, so what belt are you, Ace? I was like, just a white belt, and he's like, what? I was like, just a white belt,
You're
and
right.
and for me, like I don't want to teach, I just want to learn,
Yeah.
because a lot of people they put on that teacher hat, present company excluded, and like, I'm done. I have this thing that I do now,
Mm.
and
Right.
yeah, when we stop being a student, we start dying.
Exactly. Exactly. Like I was already a black belt when I met Kaika, the first time, and he's one of the few guys who got the black belt from Gelo Gracie, you know. And like people talk a lot about, Hickson and his invisible jiu-jitsu and all that, and to be honest, I was like, yeah, marketing. I'm trying to say, like, yeah, once you feel it, once they basically wipe the mat with you, there are black belts and there are black belts, bro. I felt like, I know nothing, you know. So
It
that
feels like you're fighting your dad when you were 10 years old. You're like, oh,
right,
ugh,
right, exactly,
this man
and
just toyed with me. The only
you
reason
know,
I'm not dead or molested is because he didn't feel like it. Like,
yeah,
all right.
exactly. you know it's like, the last time I had the pleasure, and to have a lesson with Grandmaster Keika, like my wife was also present, and he pins me down and he's talking to my wife, and I'm lying there and I'm like, damn, I can't move. I'm trying to escape, and he just had this perfect control on me, and I couldn't move, so it's great, I love it.
For anyone that's training traditional martial arts, whether
Yeah,
it's uh, Harangdo or
yeah,
Kung Fu or
yeah,
um, you pick
yeah,
Bujinkan Ninjutsu.
whatever.
What piece of advice would you give to them that will take whatever it is they're doing now and will increase the probability of it being something that they can make work should it ever come to it?
Hmm. Well, first of all, you know get lost of your ego, because people always, are the, big fish in this goldfish glass, and they think they're so cool. Go to another gym, go to a boxing gym, go, go to a kickboxing, whatever, ask the guys, if they are willing to spar with you, and they will. And if you're nice, they will be nice to you, and then you can pressure test what you have learned. And then you go back to the drawing board, and then you check out why didn't it work. You know, you should. It all depends in which direction you want to focus your training, right? If you want to be a fighter, like let's say MMA fighter, there's no need, if you're, for example, a Kung Fu guy, uh, to start to train MMA. But you have to adjust your training to the MMA needs. Meaning, for example, you have to train groundwork, right? Because there is no groundwork in Chinese martial arts. I mean, we have some style of dog boxing, but besides that, let's face it, there's no groundwork in Chinese martial arts. But you
Does
need that.
does dog boxing have a negative connotation culturally?
To be honest, I got no clue, you know, a good friend of mine, he got the Monkey Steals the Peach site on Facebook. Will, he's phenomenal guy, good mental practitioner, and he's doing a lot of documentaries with different styles. And this is where I saw dog boxing, and I saw a lot of similarities to for example, how in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu the open guard is used. They use it in a similar way. I mean, we just got 2 arms, 2 legs, so it's obvious. But I'm no expert to say anything about that. So I can't say there's any negative about it, or people see it like that. I have no idea.
The reason I ask if there's a negative connotation to it is, in Cantonese, the first swear that I learned was bokai, meaning to throw somebody onto the ground or to fall onto the ground. And so I was so one of the reasons that I ask is I was wondering if in Chinese culture there was kind of a negative connotation to being on the ground in general. If that was one of the reasons you don't see a lot of groundwork that happens there, where you look at like the European tradition of catch-as-catch-can and wrestling, you look at with the Greeks and stuff like that, like being on the ground was just, it was kind of right from the get-go you were doing it. Right.
But as far as I see it, when you're on the battlefield, the last thing you want to do is being on the ground.
Absolutely. Because, so would you say that it has more to do with things being drawn from a battlefield environment, or do you not want to get silky pajamas dirty?
Both. Definitely both. Nowadays, both, brother. But I think the reason is because on the battlefield it would not be so smart. And if you get thrown, for example, don't forget that Kano, Jigal Kano changed the throws so people can fall safely, right? Mm-hmm. So originally a throw will hurt you. It will break something, right? That's the reason why I throw you. I mean,
stuff like that, for sure.
If I do a foot trap, you will not stand up. That's it. Because your fucking ankle is broken. You will not stand up. That's it. Mm-hmm. So, but I can do the same foot trap as a nice sweep. And you roll and you stand up and we spar. You know what I'm trying to say? So please keep in mind that the Chinese wrestling, Shuai Jiao, and old school traditional judo, and I'm blessed, to learn traditional old school judo. Those people use the techniques to literally hurt you really bad. Okay, so once like you got dumped on your head on concrete, there's no need to go to the ground anymore. You're done deal. That's it.
Well, even if you hit a Haraya Goshi and land on someone's body, it was a Diesel Joe Riggs fight, I believe, in MMA. Gets hit with Haraya Goshi, and Mr. Riggs, sir, you are tougher than I am. Right? I'd like to say that on the record. He gets landed on, and I don't know if it broke his ribs, but it sure as heck took the life out of him. His soul was not in his body for a few minutes there.
Yeah. I got 2 of my ribs broken by a double leg, because back in the days people knew that I love to triangle people. So, like the guy was, like he knew that I want to pull guard, and the match was on, and he bam, beautiful double leg, swept me off my feet, and he landed with his shoulder right on my 2 ribs on the right side, and I heard it bam, crack. So I had to do what I had to do. I continued fighting. He tapped me. I was waiting that I could fight for 3rd place. I won, with triangle, 3rd place. Then literally, I went to the hospital and started crying like a little bitch, man. It hurt so bad, But yeah, those takedowns, if you do them right, and please keep in mind, I know how to break fall, and we had a soft mat, right? So just imagine he would have done that with me on concrete, so...
Yeah, getting hit with the planet sucks, for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
If you could go back in time, talk to yourself when you were a child, when you were, let's say your son's age, like 10 years old or something.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to yourself, your younger self, to go back in time?
First of all, don't be so trustful. You know, there are a lot of. Am I allowed to say assholes? Yeah, I'm allowed to. Yeah, right. So there are a lot of assholes out there you will meet later in
You
your
can say
lifetime.
Scheisenkopf if you prefer.
Yeah, no, asshole or shithead or Arschloch, we'll do it, So, anyways, so because I got fucked so many times. You know, you support people, you help them grow, and bam, you get fucked. So you do that again because you think, yeah, he was exceptional. Bam, you get fucked. So I would definitely tell myself, trust your gut feeling. If it feels wrong, and if you think the guy is not worth it, don't do it. So definitely, avoid those certain kind of toxic people. And always be aware of the politics, which are a huge part inside the martial arts, which sucks. But bro, it's all about politics, like we both know, right?
It's weird.
It's weird because it should be
I
about
came here to learn
skills.
how to fight and be a better person, and
Right.
you taught me
Right.
a bunch of things that weren't fighting and how to be a worse person.
Right. But yeah, this is the first thing I would tell myself. And I would also tell myself, whenever you get injured, let your injuries heal. Don't rush into training again.
Oh
I
man.
did that. I did that
Yeah.
too many times. I fucked up so many bones and broke this and that. And next day I was on the mat again. So maybe 3 weeks without rolling or training in general is not so bad if the injury heals. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, that's about it. Because besides that, everything is cool. I would do exactly the same. Maybe start with BJJ a little bit earlier. But I would never become the person I am now if I wouldn't, had all these little stations in my martial arts journey. Everything, taught me something. It's like, like I attended a seminar of a world champion, which was by far the worst seminar I ever attended. That guy couldn't teach for shit. But by the end of the day, at least I learned that he's a bad teacher. You know what I'm trying to say? So everything I did in my life, like was okay, and it was important, especially inside the martial arts. I could never ever, create my Bladecraft method without all those little stations. So I wouldn't want to miss any of that. But a lot of people I met, fuck that. I don't need those. No, never ever.
I'm fond of saying lately that that your key to success in life will be kind of like standing at the urinal. Keep your eyes on what you're doing, and you'll be fine.
Very well said.
All right, like mind your own work, and you're going to be just okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
What 3 books would you recommend someone read? In like doesn't need to be martial arts related, like could be on life. What 3 books would you recommend that someone read?
I always liked Clockwork Orange. I think it's a great book. I highly recommend everybody to read it. It's a cool story. And I mean, like since I studied, Chinese literature, I like Journey to the West. It's a cool book. I like the Monkey King. It's a cool character. And definitely everybody who's interested in martial arts or business in general should read The Art of War. From Sun Tzu, Sun Tzu Bingfa. You should read that. So those would be my 3 recommendations.
If you're into are you familiar with Robert Greene's work? 48 Laws of Power, the 33 Strategies of War, Art of Seduction, and then he's got one that came out recently called On Mastery. Are you familiar with those ones?
No, sorry, sir. No.
If you look up Robert Greene, I'll send you the link. They're on Audibles.
Cool.
And if you like Art of War, you'll really like these ones. It's right up the same line. Gives lots of historical examples, but it shows a cross section of culture. Like so,
Cool.
like, oh, this is from Vienna, and this is from China, and this is from right.
Oh, cool.
I'll send you the links to those when we get off. But you'll if you enjoyed that one, you'll really enjoy it.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
And then the last question I'll give you today is, what quote do you find yourself reflecting on the most lately? Or right, you have tattooed on your body, or you keep it on a sticky note on your desk, or it's like, no, this is something that I think about regularly because it makes me better.
I wouldn't say it makes me better, but the quote, which I always also like to put underneath my post, is "There's nothing new under the sun," and this is what like, I mean, please, people try to reinvent the wheel daily. They always tell you, oh, this is the new way how to stab. This is a new way how to use the blade. This is a new way. This is this system. This is that system. The brother from Bastinelli Knife, he had put out a nice video clip in regards of dexterity drills. How to play around with the knife and all that. It was beautiful video. Very skilled person, very nice person. I highly recommend people to follow him. And I was reading the comments, and suddenly another very talented guy, chimed in, and he was like, "Oh, that's my system." No, it's not. Are you stupid? How can you fucking claim that? In this century, how can you claim that anything which is done by a blade or by a knife is your system? It's maybe your soup, right? That's good. And maybe you have different kind of ingredients inside, but all those ingredients are out there, right? We all can use them. So it's not like it's yours, So I find that so often inside the martial arts that people are like, oh, I created that. Oh, really? You did that? So you're saying now that 200 years ago people didn't use that? How the fuck you know that? So there's nothing new.
There's stuff that's repackaged, and you might systemize it differently, but especially when you start looking at something like blade manipulation.
Right.
Probably not.
Please,
you go through and you look at like blade work in general, right?
Right.
Even just within Europe, right? Like you have you have Heidelberg fencing, you have Destreza out of Spain, right? The similarities between Destreza and Ilustrisimo Eskrima or Cali, depending on the name you want to use, out of the Philippines, surprisingly similar.
Yes.
So
this is what I'm saying,
you look, and you look, it's like, well, you might package it a little bit different. There might be a slightly different expectation, but yeah, the idea is the same for sure.
Yeah. So we all got our own flavor, right? But this is why always at my seminars I tell people, I didn't invent that. How the fuck could I invent it? I put it together in this way. Yeah, this is what I did. I systemized it like this. For me, like this, it makes sense. I can explain you why. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is my soup. Yeah, but it's not like I came up with this and no. But it works. Like if you want to sell, if you want to like be the big guy, man, you developed everything. It's all yours. And I just think it sucks. So much ego. So I always like to put the quote out, "There's nothing new under the sun." It's like when people come up and they discovered a new choke. Really, you discovered a new choke, so that choke was never out there. Interesting. I don't think so, because we got 2 arms and 2 legs. There are some exceptions of the rules. For example, like Eddie Bravo with his 10th planet, for example, because you mentioned it. Like you have to be very flexible to do that, right? So you have to have certain attributes, and it's definitely like it's Eddie Bravo-ish, what I'm trying to say. But still, by the end of the day, it's a triangle, it's an armbar, it's a heel hook. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, on the topic of 10th planet, you go through, like, the first thing I learned in jiu-jitsu back in like 2003, 2004 was I learned the truck series.
Yeah.
And the truck series, right, which like to me, I don't play rubber guard. I don't care for it. It doesn't work well for me. That doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It just doesn't work well for me.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of guys that play a lot of it that typically have knee injuries for it. Works really well for the guys it works really well for. And I love the way the 10th planet guys move.
Awesome.
But the twister is called the guillotine in catch wrestling. The electric chair out of the truck is called the banana splits.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Like all of that stuff exists, and a lot of the 10th Planet stuff is it's catch wrestling that's been flavorized and renamed and repackaged. And here's the thing. Eddie Bravo has done a magnificent job of going through and repackaging and renaming and remarketing, right? Creating a culture around
Exactly. Yeah.
catch wrestling.
Yes. Yes.
But the reason catch wrestling never took off and his stuff is taking off is because in a catch wrestling gym, guys are rough and they just want to do stuff that breaks each other.
Right.
For me, I think
label there.
10th Planet is great, and I enjoy doing it because I enjoy moving that way. And if somebody already has a wrestling base or they already have a regular jiu-jitsu base, it's something that's really fun to kind of add. It plays real well into scrambles, but if you're to ask him, okay, well, where else does that pop up? The caliber fellow that he is, he would be right. He'd be more than forward with telling you, well, this kind of comes from here, but it's modified in this way, right? So things are tweaked, right?
Right.
But like you're saying, nothing's really new under the sun.
Yeah. So I really like that quote, you know.
Yeah, it's solid. Okay, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me, you know. It was awesome.
It's a real pleasure. For anyone that's looking to find more of what Tom's doing, we'll make sure the links are posted below. I'll also go through and list the books that he mentioned and that were mentioned in here, so you can go through and reference them if you're into that. Thank you very much for your time, and
thank you, brother.
We'll be in touch.